Hi, I am excited today to talk to the fabulous Amy, who has recently graduated from my 8-week Recalibration Rev Up program and who has chosen to do a little bit more work together so that she can up level different areas of her life. So welcome, Amy, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Deb. Happy to be here.
Yeah, great. Well, I just wanted to take a little bit of time and just so you can tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I live in the Boston area, and for the past, 14 or 15 years, I've been focusing on customer care, training and enablement, content creation, anything to help customers at the companies that I've worked for.
Awesome. And that's a long time to be in that same industry. So you obviously had a lot of skills and experience in that area. So can I ask you what you were struggling with before you decided to join the Recalibration Rev Up program?
Well, I would call it job burnout. But I think I learned through you that it's probably just lack of enthusiasm, boredom. I worked for the same company for 14 years, and I had a really good run with them. I was promoted every 2 to 3 years. One of the reasons why I didn't feel the need to leave, I just really got a lot out of the company. But I did notice that I started to get a little bit bored, like I was starting to do the same things over and over again, and I wasn't feeling super excited. And then the company was acquired by another company, and that really changed things for me. I felt like I was being sidelined. I was no longer as a vice president at the company. I felt like I wasn't really being included in strategic conversations. I was getting moved around a lot. I was having teams put under me and then taken out from under me. And I really felt frustrated and vulnerable by that. And so that's why, I reached out to you because I needed to make a change. Mhm.
Yeah. And, I remember our initial conversations about that feeling of there's just got to be something else, the feelings that you were very kind of stuck and the feelings of being uninspired in your job were kind of clouding everything else that you were doing.
Yeah, I would always, I started to find myself saying, I feel like I'm tethered to my laptop. When COVID hit, all of a sudden, I no longer had this long commute, but I was also no longer interacting as much with my colleagues in person. Partly that's a good thing. I mean, overall, it was a good thing to be working remote. But I really did start to feel like I was constantly stuck to that laptop, and I wasn't able to attend to other things in my life that were important to me as much as I wanted to. And I just wanted to change. I really wanted to rethink my career and what I was doing, and what were the other possibilities out there. And I didn't want to make any move to like the same thing, different place. I really wanted to think this through, what I wanted to do next. Mhm.
Yeah, and so when you talk about, you were just really feeling that there was something more for you, like why was this a good time? Why was this a time that it was important for you to fix?
Well, I can't remember exactly what that critical moment was. Then when we first had our conversation, all I remember was that I was extremely angry. Something happened at work that made me really mad. And that's when I was like, I got to get out of here. I can't just sit here waiting for things to change and hoping things get better and doing the same thing over and over again. I needed to do something else, and I needed support. Mhm.
So it's interesting that you said that, often we do that. We just sit around and we wait for something to happen instead of kind of being in charge of our own life and making something happen. So in the program work that you did anything happen right away, Amy, that helped you make better decisions around your work life?
Yeah, I think it put me in the more active mode, like you just said. I was no longer rationalizing, oh, I guess this is okay. Today wasn't so bad. It really made me take a more proactive faster approach to what I was doing. And that's not to say that, in 2 weeks I had a new job. It was more like I stopped floundering and stopped procrastinating and then stopped expecting that something would magically change. It just made me take action sooner. And and I loved the modules. I love learning and I loved watching the videos, and it helped me like do an assessment of my skills and really take a look at what I've been doing. And I think part of what I was going through too is I wasn't recognizing the value that I had when, I feel like when you're working for a company that isn't leveraging your expertise, it's easy to fall into this trap of thinking, oh, I must not have any. And by going through these exercises, I'm like, oh, I actually have a lot of experience. I have a lot to offer. This is not the end job for me. I have not hit my peak. I still have a lot left in me to explore and a lot more to offer a company.
Yeah. And that's what I find is that a lot of women get to that place where they do start second guessing their value and their worth because they've been someplace for a really long time. It's almost like you're pigeonholed in a certain area. And, you talked about enjoying doing the work, doing the modules, doing the videos, doing the homework per se. And I just wanted to highlight that you were a rock star at that. Making changes in our life isn't very difficult, but it's never simple. And you did the work to actually affect change in your life. And for that, I celebrate you because you've noticed that investment of time that you put into yourself really paid off. So I wanted just to take a moment and acknowledge you for that.
It's true.
And so, Amy, is there any part of our journey together that you found to be most effective for you, most transformational for you?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of different things. One is the simple act of showing up for our calls. When you have a call with a coach and you committed to doing something before that meeting, it makes you do it.
Hmm.
I'm pretty self-disciplined, but when you have that added accountability partner, it really just makes you go, what was I going to do? I better get to do that. And it makes you accelerate your progress. That was one. Also, even though sitting back and watching a video is pretty simple, but sometimes doing the things that you asked me to do wasn't always, like you said, simple. I Even though I can get up in front of a group and train an audience, I've done that for years, there's still a part of me that's quite introverted, and I don't consider myself a natural networker. And doing informational interviews, for example, was super beneficial and very much outside my comfort zone. And one of the things you said was burn your resume. Before I called you, because I knew I was going to need a new job, the first thing I did was I reached out to a resume writer, and I had my resume drafted up again. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, burn my resume. But it's true, because I end up right now, I have a couple of job opportunities, and neither one of them asked me for my resume until they needed it for their HR department. We never even looked at it. We just talked and hit it off and had a conversation, and they liked me. So that was really interesting to me. I mean, especially being over 50. I mean, I don't even know if that has anything to do with it in hindsight, because I have a son in his 20s, and I'm encouraging him to do that too. It really is about the relationship and the connection that you need to make with other people. That's what one of the big things I learned from you.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you shared that whole thing about pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and being open to a different perspective, a new way of doing things, even when you really don't want to be doing it. And you kind of reaching out and leveraging your network has provided you with so many insights of what you want and what you don't want in your future work. And so that was a
And
really
people
great
are
part.
really helpful too. I mean, I had lunch meetings with colleagues I hadn't seen in a while, and there's always that initial anxiety of, oh, I haven't talked to them in a while. They're going to want to talk to me, but everyone's like, oh yeah, I'd love to get together. And then they're starting to think for you about places that might need your expertise, and it kind of happens organically. You're not just waiting for the
Yeah,
LinkedIn posting to come in your email box, and
yeah. That's
it's
way
so
too
much better.
discouraging anyways. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you would like to tell women who are struggling, Amy, with a similar thing as to what you did, just feeling really stuck and uninspired and knowing that you need to change, but not really sure what that looks like?
Well, I would encourage women to do something for themselves. I strongly believe that when you make yourself a priority and you do something for yourself to get unstuck and to change your life for the better, you give people around you permission to do the same thing. And you set a good example for other people. Like, I want my children to invest in themselves and to take their careers seriously and not tolerate something that's less than ideal. I always want them to strive for better, and you set the example for them when you do that. And so, it's an investment in yourself, and it's very much worthwhile. I mean, whatever the price. I mean, imagine if a year from now you're still doing the same thing just because you wanted to save a little money. You're going to make it back in your own happiness, in your income, whatever it is. It's an investment. And to me, it was definitely worthwhile.
Hmm.
Mhm.
You're giving me chills, just the way that you speak. You're so eloquent in really being certain on that you are the best investment that there is, and you want to be that great example for your kids, and you don't want to settle. Settling is not fun. Settling doesn't feel good. So, Amy,
Mhm.
one last thing before I let you go is there any advice if anybody's kind of sitting on the fence right now, should I jump in? Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Is there anything that you want to say to any women who are indecisive?
Do it. I mean, come on. What do you have to lose? I mean, I know for me, like, one of the things when in hindsight, I'm pretty frugal person, but I do notice that I spend money sometimes on things I don't really need when I'm unhappy. And
Yeah.
it's like when you address your happiness and your satisfaction and this phase of your life and what you're going to be doing and your dreams and I kind of lost touch with, what do I want? Do I even know what I want? Like, when you're in that space, you need to do something different. And I would just say, go for it.
Mm,
Invest in yourself.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Beautiful. I think that we should all invest in ourselves, no matter what that looks like. And you are a great example of what can happen when you invest in yourself and you do the work to make things better. So
Absolutely. Mhm.
thank you so much, Amy, for taking the time today. You have been a outstanding, ideal model client. I have loved working with you every step of the way, and I'm always going to be here for you, cheering you on in the future. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. You're welcome.